While I was entertaining a client, my wife, Clara, was laughing and flirting with her male assistant, Mark, at a nearby table. I had to force myself to keep drinking, pushing glass after glass of hard liquor down my throat until I felt a sharp, burning pain in my stomach. It was all to help her secure a major project for her company, a deal so important that I was willing to risk my health for it, nearly losing my life in the process. After the dinner concluded and the clients left satisfied, the pain became unbearable. I leaned against a wall, clutching my abdomen, and begged her to take me to the hospital. She just glared at me with annoyance. "It's just a little alcohol, Leo. It won't kill you," she snapped. "Mark has a cold and isn't feeling well. I need to get him home. You can just grab a cab." Without a second glance, she turned and walked away, her arm linked with his. The world started to spin as a wave of agony washed over me. I managed to pull out my phone and call for an ambulance, my voice barely a whisper. I barely made it through that night. When I was finally discharged and returned home, still weak from the ordeal, I found the kitchen trash bin overflowing. As I went to take it out, I noticed 7 or 8 used condoms carelessly tossed on top. A cold calm settled over me. I walked into the living room, picked up my phone, and called my family. "I'm coming back," I said, my voice steady. "I'm ready to inherit the family business." Just as I hung up, Clara emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a robe, a towel in one hand as she casually dried her hair. The strong, floral scent of her shower gel filled the air, but underneath it I could faintly detect the smell of tobacco on her skin as she walked past me. I suppressed a wave of nausea. "Who was that on the phone?" she asked. "It was a call from my family," I replied flatly. Before I could say another word, she cut me off with a scornful look. "Are they asking you to go back again? If you want to return to that godforsaken place, go on your own. I'm certainly not going." She paused, her tone shifting to one of condescending authority. "Being married means you need to focus on our family here. You should be thinking about how to help me get that project finalized." Her words were like ice in my veins. I had just drunk myself to the point of stomach hemorrhage for her project, and when I begged her to take me to a hospital, she chose her assistant over me and left me stranded on the street without an ounce of concern. She had no idea that the God-forsaken place she imagined was not the small, dilapidated shack in the woods I had described to her. My family's home was a sprawling villa covering thousands of square feet. Swallowing my rising anger, I replied coldly, "Got it." Seeing I had nothing more to say, she tossed the damp towel at me. "I'm hungry. Make me something to eat later." As she turned to hang the towel in the bathroom, I saw a pair of men's underwear lying next to the sink. I froze. In that moment, the faint smell of tobacco on her skin made perfect, horrifying sense. With my anger barely contained, I picked up the underwear and brought them out to her, holding them up so she could see. I looked straight into her eyes. She was flustered for a moment, her composure cracking before she snatched them away. "Mark's water got shut off, so I let him shower here," she said quickly. "He must have forgotten them when he left." I couldn't help but find her explanation almost amusing. She was becoming an incredibly proficient liar. Mark was her assistant at work, and ever since he had joined the company, she mentioned him constantly, always framing him as clumsy and mistake-prone. I had once suggested she fire him after his probation period, but she had just laughed it off, saying he was harmless and easy to manage. Yes, the man was certainly clueless, but only in his singular focus on pleasing her. I just muttered an acknowledgement and turned to go rest in the guest room. I had barely settled in when Clara came in carrying a glass of water and some stomach medicine. "I was busy when you called earlier," she said, her tone softer now. "Don't mind what I said. Are you still in pain? Take these and get some rest." As I took the cup from her, a chill spread through me. She was always so dismissive of my needs, only showing a sliver of care when it was convenient for her. Just then, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A man's voice whimpered from the speaker. "Clara, I think I have a fever. Can you come over? I don't feel good at all." Her eyes immediately filled with genuine worry. She responded in a sweet, coddling voice. "I'll be right there." She looked at me apologetically. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the car keys, and handed them to her. "Go ahead," I said. She hesitated, a look of surprise on her face. "You're not mad?" In the past, this would have sparked a huge argument, but now it all seemed so pointless. "A boss should care for their subordinates," I said calmly. Hearing my words, she took the keys and left without a second glance. I looked down at the box of painkillers in my hand and noticed they had expired months ago. A sour feeling rose in my throat. Tossing them into the trash, I curled up under the sheets, drenched in a cold sweat, and waited for sleep. The next morning, I woke up to a new social media post from Mark, one that was set to be visible only to me. It was a picture of him lying in bed while Clara gently applied a cold compress to his forehead. The caption read, "My boss is so caring. She came all the way across town just for my little cold." Previously, seeing something like this would have sent me into a rage, driving me to confront her immediately. But now, it didn't matter anymore. I tossed my phone aside, closed my eyes, and tried to get some rest, needing to gear up for the promotion announcement at work the next day. I arrived at the company early and bumped into a few colleagues in the hallway. They greeted me with wide smiles and encouraging pats on the back. "Today's the day. Clara's announcing the new director, and it's definitely going to be you," one of them said. "You brought in those million-dollar deals, drinking until you bled. You deserve it, Leo. Don't forget to treat us to dinner later." I just smiled faintly and said, "It's not certain yet." Once I was settled at my desk, the rest of the team filed in. A few minutes later, Clara stepped out of her office, dressed in a sharp, professional suit. She clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. "I have an announcement to make regarding the new director position," she declared. Every head in the office turned to look at me. I instinctively straightened my tie, ready to stand up and accept the role I had worked so hard for. But then, she walked over to Mark's desk and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Mark, who is young and incredibly talented, will be our new director. Let's all give him our full support." The entire office fell silent for a moment, and then a low buzz of chatter erupted as everyone turned to stare at me, their expressions a mix of pity and disbelief. "How is this fair?" someone whispered. "He's brand new. He hasn't even been here 2 years. He's moving up like a rocket." Everyone knows Mark is Clara's favorite. It doesn't matter how much you resent it. He knows how to win her over. Poor Leo. He works tirelessly, constantly pulling overtime, only to be left with nothing. Their words felt like needles piercing my heart. When the company was just starting out, I was the one pushing it forward, begging friends and family for investments. Everyone said I spoiled Clara, that I let her walk all over me, but I didn't care. I just wanted to see her happy. Now that the company was thriving and she had become the admired, powerhouse woman everyone envied, she turned around and gave the position that was rightfully mine to a new hire who had done nothing to earn it. In front of everyone, I reached up, unclipped my employee badge from my shirt, and placed it on my desk. I looked directly at Clara and said, "I'm done." As soon as the words left my mouth, the office erupted. Clara's face hardened with anger. "Leo, come with me," she hissed. I followed her into her office, and she slammed the door and locked it before turning on me. "What do you mean by this? Is this all just about a position? How dare you embarrass me in front of the entire company like that?" I couldn't help but laugh bitterly at her words. "Is this just about a position, Clara? Everyone here has seen how much effort I've put into this company, into every single project. You know exactly why you gave him the job." Her face twisted in fury, and she slapped me hard across the cheek. "Leo, you really disappoint me. You suspect me? Mark and I are just colleagues. People are making things up because they're jealous of his talent." My cheek burned from the force of the slap, but the sting was nothing compared to the pain in my chest. It wasn't just my pride she had shattered. It was all the years we had spent together. I looked at her and gave a cold, empty laugh. "Really?" She wanted to keep arguing, but when she saw the red, swollen mark on my face, she seemed to realize she had crossed a line. Her tone softened as she moved closer. "Does it hurt? Let me get some medicine for you." I turned away as her hand reached for my face. "No need." Noticing the distinct change in my attitude, she tried to soothe me. "I was wrong to make the decision without consulting you first. You've done so much for the company. Don't be mad. You wanted to go home and visit your family, right? Once I'm done with the work here, I'll go with you." In the past, her sweet talk and empty promises would have been enough to bring me running back to her. But this time, my heart felt nothing at all. Back at our apartment, I stared at our wedding photo hanging on the wall. I used to think that being with her made any struggle, any sacrifice, completely worthwhile. I realized now that all of my efforts had been nothing more than a joke to her. Maybe I had been wrong about everything, all along. Love is supposed to involve two people, not just one person giving everything while the other takes. After a moment of thought, I picked up my phone, ready to call Clara and finally talk about divorce. Just then, my phone rang. It was my mother. She was crying, her voice frantic. She told me that my grandmother was critically ill and that the doctors had urged me to return home as quickly as possible. Hearing that, all thoughts of Clara vanished, and I rushed out the door. The doctor informed us that my grandmother had a day left, at most, and suggested we spend as much time with her as we could. An overwhelming guilt consumed me. I had severed ties with my family for Clara's sake, and hadn't been home in years. Now I was about to see my grandmother for the very last time. From inside the bedroom, I heard her faint, weak voice call my name. "Leo, come in. Grandma wants to talk to you." I sat by her bed and held her icy hand, my tears falling uncontrollably onto the sheets. "Don't cry, silly boy," she whispered, her voice frail. "I just wished I could have seen your wife since you returned. Bring her with you next time. I have yet to give her our family heirloom." I wiped my tears, stepped outside, and called Clara. After a long series of rings, Mark answered the phone. A torrent of emotions boiled over inside me. "Put Clara on the phone," I demanded. I heard Mark shout, "Hey honey, are you out of the shower? It's Leo and he seems urgent." I could hear the sound of running water in the background, and then Clara's impatient voice came on the line. "What is it? Can it wait?" In a choked voice, I said, "Grandma isn't doing well. She wants to see you. Can you please come over?" Before I could even finish, she cut me off. "Didn't I give you a credit card? Use it to get her the best medical help." "I'm busy," she added dismissively. My fist clenched so tightly my knuckles turned white. But thinking of my grandmother's limited time, I pleaded with her. "Please, just come for a visit. It's her dying wish." There was a long silence on the other end of the line before she finally replied. "I could come, but you need to promise me something first." Desperate, I said, "Anything, as long as you come." Her next words froze me from the inside out. "Give the company's new patent to Mark." Again, it was about Mark. She knew how much I had poured my heart and soul into developing that patent, months of sleepless nights and relentless work. Yet she was using this moment, my grandmother's dying wish, to blackmail me into handing it over to him. Biting back my rage, I agreed. "Fine. To fulfill my grandmother's last wish, I would have done anything. After hanging up, I went back inside and told my grandmother that Clara was on her way. She held on with a sliver of hope, her eyes fixed on the doorway. But Clara never arrived. At dawn, my grandmother passed away. While we were dealing with the funeral arrangements, I called Clara repeatedly, but she never answered. In the middle of my waiting, Mark sent me a video. It showed Clara and him at a party surrounded by colleagues who were celebrating his success. "Mark's future is so bright," someone commented, "getting a patent at such a young age." Another person said, "You two are a perfect match. When's the wedding?" A blushing Clara replied shyly, "Soon, we'll let you all know in advance." I was in the middle of burying my grandmother, and she was celebrating with Mark. My fists clenched, my bones creaking with a rage I had never felt before. After handling the funeral, I rushed back to the city needing answers from Clara. When I got to our apartment, my key wouldn't work in the lock. Just then, the door opened. Mark stood there, a towel wrapped around his bare waist, his hair still damp from a shower. "Forgot to mention," he said with a smirk. "Clara changed the passcode to my birthday." I shoved past him into the house, shouting for Clara. She walked out of the bedroom, rolling her eyes at me. "What's with all the yelling? It's so annoying." Days of pent-up feelings finally roared to the surface. My eyes were red, and my voice was hoarse. "You promised you would come to see Grandma. Why didn't you come? Do you even know that she held on all night just waiting for you?" Clara was casually fiddling with her fingernails, completely unconcerned. "What does that have to do with me? It's not like I made her wait." My heart ached with a profound sense of loss. I never expected the once kind girl I had fallen in love with to say something so cruel. I thought back to when we first met, stuck in an elevator together. I suffered from claustrophobia, and she had comforted me the entire time. The woman standing in front of me now was not the same Clara I had known back then. "So you used my grandmother's illness just to trick me?" I asked, my voice trembling. "To get my patent for Mark?" Clara was finally annoyed by my questioning and decided to come clean. "Exactly. I never wanted to meet your poor relatives anyway. And what's the big deal about using your patent? You're a stay-at-home husband living off his wife. You should be grateful you could do something to help Mark. You've got no talent and no money. You can't even begin to compare to him." Holding back the storm of my emotions, I calmly said, "Let's end this. Let's get a divorce." I took out the divorce papers I had already prepared and handed them to her. She looked at me in disbelief. "What right do you have to divorce me? Who would even look at a nobody like you after this? If I hadn't been blind back then..." She trailed off, then snatched a pen. "Fine, let's divorce. And just so you know, I'm already pregnant with his child." She scrawled her signature on the papers. I looked at her coldly. "I hope you won't regret this." Clara nestled smugly into Mark's arms, smiling triumphantly. "Regret? My biggest regret in life is ever being with you." I slowly unclenched my fists and headed for the bedroom to pack my things. I shouldn't have been surprised to find that she had already packed my belongings and thrown them in the hallway. A small suitcase and a backpack were all I had to show for the past few years of my life. As I was about to leave with my suitcase, Mark stopped me. He handed me a bright red invitation with a condescending smile. "Hope you can come to our wedding." I took it from him. "I'll be there," I replied. Even as I walked down the stairs, I could hear their cheers and laughter echoing from the apartment. I hoped they would be able to laugh just as happily on their wedding day. After moving back into my family's mansion, I immersed myself in company matters. Soon enough, the wedding day arrived. Dressed in a tailored suit, I went to the venue with a gift. As soon as I entered, everyone started whispering, "Isn't that Clara's ex-husband?" Yeah, imagine showing up at the wedding even after being humiliated like that. He's really holding it together. He must still really love Clara. Too bad she's moved on and he just can't let go. Then, Mark, with a visibly pregnant Clara by his side, came over to me. "Thanks for paving the way for me, ex-brother-in-law," he said with a sneer. "Now I can have a good life with Clara. I'll toast to you today." Others gathered around, waiting to see my reaction. I simply clapped my hands and smiled. "Don't rush. You should check out my wedding gift first." Suddenly, 7 or 8 police officers appeared and moved through the crowd, arresting a stunned Mark. The wedding erupted into chaos. What's going on? Why are the cops here? Could it be that Mark committed some kind of crime? Mark struggled, looking defiant. "Why are you arresting me?" An officer gave him a cold look. "You're suspected of stealing someone else's patent. You need to come with us." With that, Clara and the others finally realized what was happening. Pointing a shaking finger at me, Clara screamed, "Damn you, Leo! You twisted the story! You agreed to give the patent to Mark yourself! Tell the police!" Her words caused an uproar. So the patent Mark won that award for is actually Leo's? I knew he couldn't have achieved something like that at such a young age. Academic genius, my foot. He's a thief. Mark's face turned pale as he listened to the crowd. Clara snapped, "He's not a thief. You said if I visited your grandmother one last time, you'd give the patent to Mark. Say something." I looked at her coldly. "Yes, I did say that. But did you go? My grandmother waited until she passed, and you never showed. During her funeral, you were at Mark's celebration party. You planned to deceive me from the very start just to get my patent." Thinking of my grandmother, my fists clenched tight. Hearing this, the people in the crowd turned their anger on Clara. What kind of person is she? The poor grandmother just wanted to see her one last time, and she used that to threaten Leo into giving the patent to her lover. She's not even human. More like an animal. Clara stood there, clenching the fabric of her wedding dress, glaring at me with pure hatred. The police took Mark away in front of everyone. Because she was pregnant, Clara wasn't taken to the station. Thanks to me, the wedding was completely ruined. The guests quickly left, leaving a fuming Clara standing alone in the decorated hall. I was about to leave when she grabbed my arm. "Leo, you bastard! You ruined everything!" I looked at her, amused. "This is your own fault." I shook her hand off and walked out without looking back. That night, my friend Dave invited me out to celebrate. As soon as I sat down, he clapped me on the shoulder. "Man, you really turned the tables today. Mark is not getting out of this one. So, when are you planning to reveal your big boss identity?" I tapped my fingertip on the rim of my glass. "I'm taking over the company tomorrow." Dave grinned. "Ready for a show? If Clara finds out who you really are, she'll probably regret it to death. Just make sure she doesn't try crawling back to you, and whatever you do, don't be soft-hearted." I used to be weak. I couldn't bear to see her cry. But now, I was never looking back. We drank a lot that night. Eventually, my friends all said they had something sudden to attend to and arranged for a driver to take me home. I was groggily put into the back of a car. "Leo is in your hands now," I heard one of them say. "Don't worry," I faintly recognized a girl's voice respond. The car sped away and finally stopped at a hotel. The driver, a young woman named Sophie, helped me up to a room, using all her strength to get me onto the bed. My head was spinning. She softly asked, "Are you feeling bad? I'll get you some water." Sophie had a light, pleasant scent of gardenias. I don't know why, but I suddenly reached out and grabbed her hand. "Don't go." She lost her balance and fell into my arms. Sophie's big eyes blinked, and I could feel her heart racing against my chest. Maybe it was the alcohol, or maybe it was something else, but I found myself leaning closer to her. Just as our lips were about to touch, I suddenly snapped back to reality and shook my head to clear it. Sorry, I drank too much. Right after I said that, her eyes reddened. Leo, do you still like Clara that much? She did so many hurtful things to you. She's not worth your love. Her voice was soft and full of emotion. I've liked you for so long. I thought she'd truly care for you, so I was willing to step back. But you're not happy at all. I can't hold back my feelings for you anymore, Leo. I like you. I've liked you since the first day I saw you. Looking into her teary eyes stirred something deep inside me. As she softly spoke, she leaned in and kissed me. Her lips were cool, and for a moment my mind went blank. Sophie, I whispered, do you know what you're doing? I know, she said. I've liked you for a long, long time. Do you like me, even a little? Her tone was careful and vulnerable. I remembered how timidly she had first greeted me at work months ago. I gently held the back of her head and kissed her again, showing her with my actions what my words couldn't say. I do. Hearing my unspoken answer, tears welled up in her eyes. Our fingers intertwined, and the room filled with an intimate atmosphere. The next morning, as she slept peacefully, I gently touched her hair and said softly, Sophie, I'll cherish you. Before leaving, I had breakfast sent over by my assistant and then headed to the company. Everyone at the office was speculating about who the mysterious big boss was. Clara was organizing things, preparing for my arrival. The big boss will be here soon, she announced to the staff. Be on your best behavior, or you're out. The employees lined up on both sides of the entrance. I arrived in a Maybach and pulled up to the front doors. Clara hurried over to open the car door for me, her face freezing in shock when she saw me step out. This is the day the big boss takes over. What are you doing here causing a commotion? I adjusted the cuff of my sleeve and said casually, I'm the big boss. Behind me, Clara burst out laughing. Leo, do you even know what you're saying? Someone as poor as you claiming to be the boss? You must be joking. Security. Throw this troublemaker out. Several large security guards approached me. Just then, a stern voice rang out. I'd like to see who dares. My family's butler approached and gave me a slight bow. Sir, I apologize for the delay. Everyone was stunned into silence. Sir? Leo, isn't that the name of the richest man in the country's son? Clara panicked. Impossible. Stop spreading nonsense. I know him well. He's just a poor boy from the countryside. At that exact moment, everyone's phone buzzed with a news notification. It stated that Leo, the sole heir of the Sterling Corporation, would be officially taking over the company that day. Once they saw the news, the entire company was in an uproar. My God, Leo is really the heir. Clara looked at me, utterly disbelieving. How could, this can't be. You've been lying to me all this time. I looked at her coldly. That's right, I'm the heir. When we were together, my family disapproved of our marriage. I cut ties with them for you. Hearing that, she nearly collapsed to the ground. From this day forward, I announced, the company is under my leadership. Clara, for stealing company patents, you are terminated with no chance of rehire. Let this be a lesson to everyone. Tears streamed down Clara's face as she clung to my hand. Leo, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I didn't know you were the heir. I was seduced by Mark. Please! I coldly pulled my hand from her grasp. Clara, you disgust me. When you divorced me, you said your biggest regret was ever meeting me. You called me worthless. Now that you know my identity, you're trying to latch on to me again. Don't forget you're carrying Mark's child. Imagine how he'd feel. Clara sobbed uncontrollably. Leo, I was wrong. I'll abort the child. Let's start over. To her, what was the child? just a pawn she would sacrifice to climb the social ladder. "Leo, please give me another chance." Just the sight of her made me feel dirty. "Clara, we're done." At that moment, a car honked. The window rolled down, revealing Sophie, who smiled brightly at me. "Finished? I'm here to pick you up." Just as I got in the car, Clara grabbed me again. "Who is she? Are you refusing to be with me because of her?" I almost laughed at her audacity. "How is that any of your business?" Sophie leaned over. "You're having someone else's baby, yet you're still thinking about your ex-husband? You didn't appreciate him back then. Now he's mine." Sophie's claim over me was surprisingly adorable. As we drove away, I saw Clara in the rearview mirror, furious, stomping her feet in frustration. After a long silence in the car, Sophie finally asked, "Will you—" I knew she was asking if I would go back to Clara. I interrupted her immediately. "No, Sophie, I gave her many chances before, but she didn't cherish any of them. Now, I'm going to cherish you. I won't have anything to do with her ever again." After hearing that, she gripped my hand tightly. While we were eating, Clara kept sending me messages, apologizing non-stop. I didn't reply. Then she started calling me frantically, so I blocked her number. For 2 or 3 days, I thought she had finally given up. One morning, just as I was about to head out, I saw her standing at my doorstep, looking pale and gaunt. Her eyes were red and swollen, as if she had been crying for days. She rushed into my arms and sobbed, "Leo, I had the baby aborted. Can we please start over? How could you be so cruel to me? I know it was my fault in the past, and I regret it every single day. I never thought she would actually go through with the abortion." I pushed her away firmly. "Clara, even if you got rid of the baby, there is no chance for us." She collapsed onto the ground, crying hysterically. "It's my fault. I lost you." I turned and walked away. I focused on my work for a long time after that, and didn't see Clara again. The next time I heard about her was years later, through a news article. After Mark got out of prison, he went looking for Clara. When he found out that she had aborted their child in a desperate attempt to reconcile with me, he was devastated. In a frenzy of rage and betrayal, he stabbed Clara with a knife. She tried to fight back, but she couldn't withstand the strength of a grown man. After a long struggle, she collapsed in a pool of blood. Her mother, who had been trying to protect her, was also stabbed to death by Mark. When I saw the news, all I could think was karma. If not for her greed and cruelty, none of this would have happened. I turned off my phone and rested my head against the car seat. As soon as I closed my eyes, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered, and a hoarse, familiar voice came through the speaker. It was Mark. "Leo," he rasped, "I've got your woman. If you want to save her, bring me $1 million. My heart clenched tight. My voice shook as I spoke. "Don't touch her." "I'll send the address to your phone. Bring the money yourself. If I see any cops, you'll know the consequences." As I was about to say something else, the call ended abruptly. A moment later, a video arrived on my phone. It showed Sophie, tied up at the edge of a cliff, with turbulent waters raging below. I called back, and after a tense while, Mark answered. "I'll have the money ready in an hour. Just don't touch her." "I didn't know she meant so much to you," he sneered. "Fine, you have 1 hour. Don't be late." After hanging up, I quickly got the money and drove to the mountains outside of town alone. After navigating the winding, treacherous roads for what felt like an eternity, I finally arrived at the spot he had specified. From a distance, I saw Sophie, tied up and covered in bruises. Mark squatted on the ground nearby, a cigarette dangling from his mouth. His hair was graying, and a thick stubble covered his chin. He looked like he had aged 20 years. Seeing me, he flicked the cigarette away. "Where's the money?" "Let her go first," I said. Without even glancing at the bag of money on the ground, he smirked. "Did you really think I want the money? What I want is your life." As he finished speaking, I took a step forward and my foot plunged into a bear trap he had hidden in the leaves. Blood instantly gushed from my leg, and in the distance Sophie cried out, "No!" Mark approached me slowly, a knife glinting in his hand. "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have gone to prison. Clara wouldn't have aborted our child. All of this is your fault. Why do I have nothing, while you get to become a prince overnight? I'm sending both of you to hell." In agony, I slowly retreated. When he lunged, I caught the blade with my bare hand, blood streaming down my wrist. I just needed to buy a few more minutes. The people I had arranged to follow me would be arriving soon. "Mark, you brought this on yourself," I grunted through the pain. "When Clara was messing around with you, you should have known what kind of person she was. Your own greed ruined you." My words made him furious, and just as he raised the knife to attack me again, my people arrived, swarming the area. Mark was quickly subdued. I rushed over to untie Sophie, who was crying uncontrollably. "Leo, I was terrified," she sobbed. "I was so scared." I gently patted her shoulder, holding her close. "Don't cry. I'm here now." A few days later, Mark was arrested and, for his multiple crimes, sentenced to death. After I recovered in the hospital, Sophie and I had our wedding. On our wedding day, she walked towards me in a beautiful white dress. With all our friends and family as witnesses, we took our vows and embarked on a new life of happiness together.